What's up, friends and family? This is Michelle, and I am about to perform surgery on my baby, the MacBook Pro. As you can see, I have it turned upside down, and I'm ready to remove the screws so that I can change the RAM. And I'm just going to pan a little bit so you can see my anti-static mat. Now, any good surgeon needs her tools, so one thing that you're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver. I want to take some time and iterate some points that I forgot to mention. The anti-static mat is extremely important because you don't want to shock any of these components. Remember that the MacBook Pro has an internal battery that's connected to everything. So, one false move and everything could be zapped. Also, notice how tiny these screws are because I've started removing them. Really small, so you want a safe place to put them so that you'll be able to screw your machine back together when everything's finished. Another important note is to make sure you have the computer completely shut off. Now, I've finally removed the case. I'll put the case aside for a minute and then we will resume. But one thing I want you all to keep in mind is that if you're a female and you're trying to do this and you watch the tutorials that are developed by men, they'll say that the case comes off easy. In my opinion, I had to put a little elbow grease in it more than I was comfortable putting into my baby because I was afraid I was going to bend the case. But I finally managed to pry the case off. See it, but there are my scratched up fingernails just to prove. So here is the inside of the MacBook Pro case. And what we're concerned about is this little area right here, the RAM. And if you can see, right there are two little tabs that we're going to have to push outward. There's the other one. There are two little tabs that we're going to have to push outward. When we push those outward, we should be able to release the RAM. Another thing that you actually need is the RAM. So I've got the crucial 8 GB RAM kit. And I'm getting ready to open this so that when I get my RAM popped out, I can replace it with the crucial RAM. Again, I'm going from 4 GB of RAM to 8 GB. So I pulled the first two tabs so that I could release the RAM, and now I just need to sort of exert some force and pull it out. So I'm going to pull out both sticks of RAM and then we'll resume the tutorial. So I pulled the first two tabs so that I could release the RAM, and now I just need to sort of exert some force and pull it out. So I'm going to pull out both sticks of RAM and then we'll resume the tutorial. Now that last slot, you'll see I already have the first slot removed, but the last slot is rather tricky because as you'll see if you do this with your own Mac, once you get it out of the case, there are two levers that it must go up. In other words, you need to release the tabs on the bottom, then release the tabs on the top slot, and then it will become easier for you to remove that second stick of RAM. Now, I've replaced the RAM with the 8 GB RAM chips, and I have to admit, it gave me a little bit of a scare because I guess, I didn't seat it properly the first time, so I had to kind of untug it and tug it back, and there were a few little tiny plastic pieces on the inside of my case because I kind of sort of bruised these little tab guys right here. You do those kind of things when you're getting used to a new machine. I don't think there should be any long-term damage, but we'll see. But just know that you want to make sure that everything's lined up properly before you push down. Cross your fingers for me. Just an aside, when you're putting these screws back in, I recommend sort of putting the screw on the head of your Phillips screwdriver. And then that way you can more easily make sure the screw lines up properly. Just support it with your finger or your thumb if you need to, and then screw it in the case. Now we've got mommy's baby flipped right side up. Let's make sure she opens properly, meaning the hinges are screwed on correctly, and most importantly that she turns on properly and recognizes our new RAM. Final note, peeps, is to save the RAM that you already had. Save that RAM because you might be able to use it in an upgrade project later. That's 4 GB of RAM. That is compatible with the Mac. So maybe one day I'll get a MacBook Air. I don't know how easy those are to open or not, but I still would save it, or even if you start having issues with the RAM that you've purchased. There she is, my home screen. Everybody recognizes that. That is Miss Sarah Sassy Vaughn in the prime of her youth. So it looks like the surgery went very well, and I will enjoy twice my regular computing power from now on out. And maybe I'll hit you guys up the next time when I go ahead and install 16 gigabytes. But I think 8 gigabytes will hold me for now, because 16 gigabytes costs around $300 for the Mac at this time, and I was able to do this upgrade for $70. So lesson, peeps, if you're Mac users, do not pay the Mac store for this upgrade. It's a simple upgrade you can do yourself. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you later.